Okay.
We're ready. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us for this candidates forum for the runoff election for the Fort Valley City Council post in the runoff candidates that are participating or in the contest for the current positions. The Links Incorporated is a nonpartisan organization and does not forward the interest of any one particular candidate or political party. We are servicing in the act of servicing our service area and the citizens within several counties that are surrounding Peach. We are making the information available so that citizens can make informed decisions regarding city government. So we thank you for your objective opinions, and hopefully the information that you learn here this evening may provide you with much needed clarification as you make your decision to cast your ballot.
The Links Incorporated is an international nonprofit corporation established in 1946. The membership consists of over 15,000 professional women of color in 288 chapters. The Fort Valley, Georgia chapter of the Links was established in 1969. This is a nonpartisan event open to the public, streamed live over the internet. This forum will be moderated by the National Trends Facet Committee. All candidates will be given equal time to present their platform and answer any question posed by the moderator as time permits.
For this runoff election, there were in fact 6 candidates. All candidates were invited and acknowledged the invitation. We did receive acceptance by 3 of those candidates. However, one has abstained from attendance due to personal issues or personal or prior engagement. And we have one that will be joining us shortly. And we're not sure, he may join late, but just to be clear, all candidates were invited and acknowledged the invitation. 3 mind. So joining us now is candidate Mark Agostino. Good evening, Mr. Agostino. Once you can hear us.
Hello.
How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Doing well. Thank you so much for your participating and joining us this evening.
Thank you. I'm glad to participate.
Oh, you're more than welcome. To get started, we would love to give you the opportunity now to introduce yourself and kind of talk briefly about your platform. Likely we'll give you that same opportunity toward the end, but just to get everyone more familiar with who you are, they have not already heard about you and your platform by now, but just to kind of reiterate, if you wouldn't mind.
Well, my name's Marcus Agostino. I've been living here in Fort Valley for close to 3 years. I have family that did live here for many, many years, and that's how I came to be here. So I do like this city. I see that it's starting to grow, so that's nice. My platform's it's pretty simple. I just want this city to succeed, become progressive, and go forward. You know, yeah, that's really the whole bulk of it. I am pretty good with finances. I can understand them quite well. I believe in transparency. We definitely have to have transparency because I think that's how we got into trouble in the first place, right? Is lack of transparency. Um, I really like to get involved with downtown situations. I've been in a few communities for Main Street projects and participated. Uh, there's just lots and lots of stuff we can do here. Um, I've been educated as up north at 4 years in business. Um, I've got 2 years in criminal justice. I continue education whenever I can, and that's really the bulk of it.
Okay. Okay. Well, thank you for sharing that. And also, then being encouraged to be engaged in city government, like after, well, only really 3 years, kind of a short time, but seeing where you feel as though you can fit in. So that is
Yes,
commendable.
yes. I've also been on the ethics commission for over a year. I had to resign from that while I'm running, um, but I do believe in. It might sound kind of a cliche, but I do believe in honest politicians. I believe also in a city situation, we should always act nonpartisan. That this is our home, this is our community, and we can't be left or right. We've got to be correct, and that's the main thing. This community is for everybody, not just a few here and there. So I'm an advocate for being inclusive of everyone.
Okay. You said something about transparency. So I'm going to ask you this question right here. How do you plan to ensure transparency and accountability in the city government, particularly concerning budget allocation and decision-making processes?
I think that's going to be a few parts. We do not have a website that's current where they throw things on there once in a while, but we do not have an interactive website with most communities. So it's very difficult for a citizen to realize what we're doing. Um, a lot of times they don't know when these meetings are. They don't know what they're about. So I'm going to advocate that we make sure that our meetings are put out there, the dates, the times, that we have our website functioning so that we can post each month's budget so that people have questions. They can ask questions and someone will respond to them. I've got an open door policy whenever I'm functioning within a city where if a citizen wants to ask a question, I'm fine with it, and I'll give an honest answer or I'll direct them to where they can get an answer. But I do believe we need to have more transparency as far as our meetings have to be known so that people can come in and watch and ask questions. Um, we need to be transparent through our website. I believe the city should also have a YouTube channel so that we can broadcast our meetings because everyone's got a phone, most people have a computer, most people have a TV screen so they can watch YouTube. So there's no reason why we can't do that. And it's not as if it's an expensive thing to do. I just feel there's a lot of ways of being transparent because the answer I get here in this city is, well, we put it in the paper. My question to that is, how many people get the paper? I don't get the paper. I know I go and buy it when I hear there's something that's going to be in it that interests me, but I typically don't purchase the paper. And then if you get online to try and find out what's in our newspaper, they don't even offer online services to find anything out. So how can a city be transparent when our only legal organ is not transparent? I do have an issue with that. Um, so I would want to seek out any avenue to make us more transparent because I also think that puts people at ease so they don't think we're up to something. because a lot of times they're up to doing good for the people, but it doesn't look that way when they, your citizen doesn't know about a meeting, doesn't participate in a meeting, and then you get controversial, conjecture from others about the meeting. I'd like to see people just there, be able to witness, be able to ask. And it wouldn't be a bad thing for us to have a monthly or a bi-monthly town meeting. And I'm not talking about a council meeting where we're doing a work session, or I'm talking a real town meeting where people can interact with council, with administration, to ask questions, to be able to get their thoughts.
I'm listening, and that leads into another question I had about community engagement, your steps that you would take in order to develop community engagement and involve the residents in decision-making process regarding city development. So you kind of went into that. So will you expand on that a little bit more?
Well, as far as city with engagement with others, I believe that again, with being able to have a town meeting, again, being able to be transparent with when these meetings are, and also during these meetings, have a Q&A for everybody. Because a lot of times these meetings are set up so that you have to actually sign up a week or two earlier to be able to be heard. I think there should be an allotment of time given at each of these meetings to where people can engage from, a citizen can engage, ask a question, get an answer if possible, or be directed where they can get an answer. I think it's important that we become progressive, that we use our internet, we use our website, we use tools like YouTube and having our own channel, because people just are not informed. And I see that as being a major, major stumbling point when you're not informed.
Okay. You also said earlier about diversity. Okay, can you share your vision for promoting diversity, equity, and inclusion within our city, particularly policies and programs aimed at serving all residents equally?
I think we're kind of unique in Fort Valley where we have a college. We do not interact with that college nearly enough. I don't know if it's a lack of not knowing. I don't know if we're it's not finding the right path. But I would like to be able to collaborate with the heads at the college to be able to figure out what the needs are of our kids that go to college, what the needs are of our elderly that are in the city. There's a lot of programs out there that'll help people become involved. And we just seem to be one of those bedroom communities that we're real quiet. We don't really ask a whole lot of questions, and when we do, we don't know where to ask, and so we ask a question to somebody and we don't get an answer, and then we stop, and we've got to be able to keep going to get that answer. We need to be able to engage everybody and be equal with everybody. I know that there seems to be some division between school and town. There's division between the older people, younger people, division with black and white. And we're such a small community that we really shouldn't have these kind of obstacles going on. So I really advocate for town hall type meetings, for websites where we can all be interactive. There's a host of things we can do. There's functions that happen during the year through City Hall, through the police department, through fire, through Historic Society. All of us need to be communicating with each other to be able to be one, including the college. The college is a very large part of this town, of the city, and I don't think that we even come near to using the resources that college has available to us.
Okay. You said about utilizing the college, which is Fort Valley State University. Also we have Central Georgia Technical College. How will you utilize those institutions of higher learning to get a skilled workforce that will meet the needs of potential new business? So what's your strategy on that?
I would find out first what do we have going on here in town? What are our businesses that we've got here? What is our need for employment? So then we can interact with Georgia Tech, with our college right here, and find out what kind of programs that are there for these people so that they can become educated and be able to do a job, be able to get better pay, better work environment. I know sometimes it seems complicated, but then sometimes it's just easy as asking the question. You know, do we have heads of these departments that can interact on a monthly basis to collaborate, to let us know what's available, to let us know how they can help us with employment for a lot of our citizens? Because I honestly don't know what kind of numbers we have for citizens that need jobs, for citizens that want to go and better themselves with education. And do all of our citizens know that our college is available, that Georgia Tech is available, that there's courses also online that people can go to and not have to drive miles to get to. So I think interacting with our school and finding out what's available to us and then getting it out there for our citizens to know what's there, who to contact. I think that would be a good start.
Okay. And saying all that, we want to get them educated, but now we need to know what are you going to do? What kind of opportunities you're going to help create for the citizen of Fort Valley in the form of entrepreneurship within our community?
Okay, I think as far as business goes, we're in a unique time with COVID and everything else that happened. So there are grants out there, and SBA has been a forefront of recovery for our small businesses and to advocate for the Main Street projects for mom and pop restaurants and shops. You know, and SBA's distributed over 416 billion into businesses. So we need to be able to get our smaller businesses here involved with being able to get some of these funds, some of these education. We've got paycheck protection through the federal government. There's just so much that we can do. COVID also had an economic injury disaster relief program for our small businesses. I didn't really see a whole lot of businesses in this town take advantage of any of that. And I think people got confused with COVID money being given to the city, allotted to the city, and dispersed in the city. But I think that people were under the wrong impression here in Fort Valley and elsewhere that was the end of the road. That's it. That's all the help you can get when there's so much more out there. So again, I would want to create, possibly workshops where we can get everyone educated in knowing what's out there, get them in touch with SBA administration to be able to get some loans, to be able to get them educated, so that we can make their businesses grow. So then their workforce, they're being educated through our local colleges and through instructors and through people that have owned business in the past that know how to run a business. So I think it's a collaborative situation. We all have to get together on this and go beyond what Fort Valley is. I think we need to go past our oppression of the doorstep and be able to get out there into our government and get everybody here in touch with being able to get these loans and education from SBA and other grants and entities that are out there.
Okay, you mentioned COVID, and you said that a lot of the business owners in Fort Valley didn't take advantage of the funding or the opportunity that was available for them. What prevented them? Was there any barriers that prevented them? Was
I think what it was
were they new?
I think it was lack of knowledge. I don't think that our administration, our economic development office, I don't think that they looked into any of this, so that a lot of these business owners were left on their own. So they thought, okay, I got my small check from, COVID, when I was shut down. I got a little check from the city, and that's where it ends. And that's not where it ends. It's very much not where it ends. There's so much more that could have been done, but they were kind of not led to the right trough to get it. There was so much more out there, and I noticed people around here, they didn't know there was so much out there. There's still a lot out there that we, but through our administration doesn't seem to be in tune with that. Our administration seems to want to just, let's fix our buildings. Well, there's more to it than just the optics. That's definitely a huge part, but we have to go deeper than our optics. And we have to find out, what are you doing for a business? Is this a business that's still viable in today's market? People might be trying to do a business that it's no longer viable for this area, or they might be trying to do a business that's very viable, but they do not have the right tools, the right avenue to go to. And I think it's very important that we as an administration learn and understand and can point people in the right direction and help them.
Okay, so how would you point them in the right direction? What would you do to help them?
What I would do is I would definitely look into, and I have with SBA and a few other areas in government, that we can point them in the direction to get loans. The other thing too that is kind of, it's a dead horse right now. We've beaten it up an awful lot. Our audits. Our audits can kind of hinder us in certain ways for grants and monies through the state and through federal. But our audits are being dealt with, and they are, from what I've been told, they're going to be up to date this coming year in 2024. So now that should no longer be a hindrance for any of these smaller businesses in town for getting money through the state and getting help, and also the city getting help for its own buildings, and be able to educate others as well. So I think what's going on here is we do have a few new people in government from a couple of years ago. We're going to be getting a round of new people again this Tuesday. And I think it's very important for us to keep in tune with what's out there right now, to become educated with what's out there right now. There's not just SBA, there's a lot of different grants. There's a lot of different education that we can use and utilize. So I think if we all get on board as an entire administration that wants to grow, wants our city to grow, I think it would be a very positive move in the right direction.
Okay. What strategies would you propose to attract new businesses and industry to our small town while supporting the growth of existing local businesses?
I would at first support the growth of the businesses we have right now. I do know we're getting some more businesses coming into town. We need to support what's here. We need to clean ourselves up so that we are attractive for other businesses to come in, because I feel that we can talk about getting new business all day long, but it's not going to happen if we're not attractive to that business to come into our town, into our city. We need to be attractive for that. We need to know what we're doing. We need to be able to point to certain avenues when a business, especially a mom and pop business, wants to come in. They've got some money to put in, but they don't have a whole lot of money, so they need to spend it wisely. And they also need help. And that's where we can put them in touch with SBA administration, certain relief grants and funds that can be gotten from state and from federal, and be alongside them when they're trying to do all this, because it doesn't help anyone when you give them a real short answer. Here's the road to go down, and that's it. We have to be there and walk the walk with them.
Okay. We talked about Fort Valley State University, and I have to go back to that because that's a major force in our community.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see them as an institution that we're not bridging the gap with, so that we can work closely with this Fort Valley, the city of Fort Valley and Fort Valley State University?
I think we don't know exactly how to do that at the moment. There's a gap. We need to mend it. We need to bring it together. But I think it's going to be a combination of both of us, of both the school and the city, that brings us together. I know that the school's gotten some new administration. We're going to be having some new administration in the city. What I'm hoping for is that there can be a unity with both, so that we can get together. We can have bi-weekly or monthly meetings and strategize to be able to figure out what to do, where the citizens and the students, find out what their needs are. I think I don't know exactly how the gap happened. Like I said, I'm kind of brand new coming here, so I don't know what created that gap. But I sure would like to be able to be part of closing it in. And I think with a lot of the new people on site now, we should be able to close that gap. It could be as simple as what the needs of the students are in our city, and maybe we're not meeting them, or maybe we're not attractive in a certain way for them to do certain things. We are a small community. We do not have a lot of nightlife for students to entertain themselves. We don't have a lot of daytime stuff for students to entertain themselves. So we need to find out what we can do to have that. I also feel that as far as job wise, we've got a lot of talent that comes through this college on a yearly basis. And it would be nice to be able to keep some of that talent within Fort Valley. So therefore, we need to start to have some business built in around our city to hold that talent. And I'd advocate for newer business so that we can keep some of this talent with us.
Okay,
So then,
go on, Ms.
I
O.
apologize. So then, would you then support proposals that are toward helping to retain some of these young professionals that are being educated at both Fort Valley State University and Central Georgia Technical College?
Yes, yes, I would. I know that we have a lot of acreage up near 75 that they want to put an industrial park in. I know that Governor Kemp had set aside a lot of property and bought it up for Fort Valley to do so. I look forward to seeing what the plans are, seeing what they want to do. I would love to see a lot of uh, business come here, be it technical, be it physical, as far as producing things. I know we're going to be having an EV battery company come in. I would love to see more business here, because we need diversity in our business before we can have diversity around town, and to have it mixed together as one. We need it from both sides. We can't just have one and not the other. We need to have something to be cohesive about. And I think newer business along with our older business would be great, because I mean, what we've got right now is just a couple of large companies, Bluebird being one of them. And it's great that they employ the amount of people that they employ, but I think what could be very dangerous is a city that only has one major business, because then it's almost a monopoly upon our citizens. For our citizens that can't travel far, okay, well, you're stuck with this one type of job and that's it. And I don't think that's going to create, any kind of progressive community. We need more here to be progressive. One or two large businesses is not the ticket. The other thing being said too is businesses sometimes go by the wayside if they become obsolete over the years. What happens if Bluebird leaves? We don't have a backup. We don't have something large like Bluebird to handle the employees that it's got. So we need more business here. We need something to happen as far as more business, so that we can become a cohesive community.
Okay. You say, what if Bluebird leave? And I just, I keep going back to Fort Valley State University because we're forgetting how large and the impact that Fort Valley State plays on the community of Fort Valley.
They're the
And
other
to
large
say-
employer.
Yeah, and to say Bluebird leave, we forgetting that's a giant in itself.
Mhm.
When you go and visit, I'll say Statesboro. When I go and visit Statesboro, I know Georgia Southern is right there because it's emerged in the city. That's what I'm getting at. What kind of steps to emerge Fort Valley State into the city? When you hit Camellia, Fort Valley State is there,
Right.
and this is Fort Valley. But that's
Right.
the working with the local council government in order to get this incorporated.
And that's where we have to have a connection. We have to have a connection with our city council to be able to connect with our college, to be able to get the word out there, to be able to I mean, you see billboards and signs everywhere in these other communities. You see advertisement everywhere. You see that they do things together. We don't really do much together. Fort Valley has its things going on. We've got our stuff going on. I mean, when homecoming is our biggest deal going on, and that seems to be the one connect once a year. We need more than just once a year.
Yeah.
And so I'd be an advocate for doing other things to connect us, maybe having some other functions, job fairs, anything that would connect, that would put a connect out there for us to connect with the college. Because you're right, they are one of our largest employers. We have a lot of talent there, but yet we're sitting kind of in a separate box away from them, but we're in the same spot. And I think we have to have the connection.
Well, can we shift just slightly? What are your thoughts about healthcare, community healthcare in the form of urgent care positions, or just some places where some type of triage can happen for the citizens that's closer than the now county hospital that's moved to North Peach?
From what I've learned, we were supposed to have a new hospital, and for whatever reason, that did not happen. That happened up the street. It doesn't do any of us any good if we cut ourselves at 2 in the morning or have a heart attack or someone's having a crisis. We do not have enough for our mental health. We do not have enough for our physical health. Now, it's great that our urgent care here in town just expanded. That's terrific that they did. But it still does not fix the problem that we need to have more healthcare here. I think that's going to be a few steps before we see it. What we're seeing now is we're seeing more housing being developed. I think we need a little more housing developed so our numbers can grow a little bit more. And then I really would love to see us get an urgent care unit come in. And not just for our physical care, but we have a mental health issue going on in the city as well. There's a lot of people out there that need help that just they go by the wayside. They're just not getting the help because it's too far to get them to Macon or into Warner Robins or wherever we need to get them. And another thing too, that's not their home. So you have someone that has a mental health issue going on, and now you're going to take them out of their environment, bring them to another environment. I do not feel that it's a good situation. It's not putting them with the best of their needs in mind. It's basically putting a Band-Aid on it. So I'm very much for having a facility in this city that's nearby all of us, so that we don't have to wait. We don't have to worry about travel. We can get there, and it can be part of our community. So I'm very much an advocate.
Okay.
But I do understand with the numbers that we need a few more citizens for our numbers. I do know that.
So what are your thoughts on improving public safety, including police community relations and ensuring fair and just law enforcement practices?
I think law enforcement, they're getting better. I believe in our city that we've got a new chief, we've got a new assistant chief. The assistant chief is good with gang related issues, which you stop and think, well, this Fort Valley's small. We don't have gang issues, but what we do have is we have gangs from outside that travel to us. So having the police presence that we've got now, they know, okay, we can't easily access Fort Valley too much anymore. So their presence is good. They've also got programs to engage the community so that they can be transparent. I also feel the extreme need, and they did get this equipment, that all police are equipped with body cams. We should be able to know what's going on, every single incident that's going on in the city. If there's a pullover, if there's an interaction, we need to know that it's handled professionally, ethically, that we've got good police on our side, that we don't have any rogue police officers that we read about in other communities. We do not need that here in Fort Valley. And I do not advocate for a police force like that. I think our police force, they are on the right path. They are requesting the right equipment. They want to engage with the public. They seem to be engaging with the public. And I advocate for that to be a stronger bond and for us to be more interactive with the public, with programs, with school programs, education as far as the laws go. I know they like to educate people right before like homecoming, things like that. I think it needs to be a process through the entire year, not just okay, we're having homecoming, here are the rules, and we're going to rain on your parade if you don't do this the way we tell you to. I don't advocate for that type of a situation. We've had a lot of negative in the past, and I don't feel that we should present ourselves in a negative fashion, because it also makes the job harder. It puts other people at risk. It puts our citizens at risk. It puts our police at risk. And I do not advocate for that. So I do believe in full transparency with our officers, police force, for us to have programs that involve schools, right down to grammar schools, so that the kids aren't afraid of police. And the kids need to know it's okay to go and talk to an officer if there's a problem going on. Not to be afraid of them. And we need our police force to be community and civic minded at the utmost. Because like I said, we do not need any kind of law enforcement like we read about in the papers, see in the news, what happens around this country. It's just gotten too extreme. And I feel we've got a pretty good police force right now. There's room for growth and room for improvement.
Okay.
I think
And
we
you
get.
said about the children. Okay. So what kind of things you would, if elected, you would put in place to make sure that children have that platform that they need to grow and flourish? I mean, activities or what?
I think we need to have activities where police are involved with our schools, with after school activities, during school activities, so that they can realize they're a part of our community. They're not part of the community that's a negative aspect, that they're a positive. Um, I think there's a lot of things we can do with our kids in town. We don't really have a place for our kids to go. All we have is the schools. We need something more than just a school for our children to go to. We need a decent, safe place with activities where everyone can have a good time, everyone can be themselves, everyone can be accepted. And I know right now we really don't have that. We've got some nonprofits out there that help out the kids, and I really think that the city itself should have some things going on other than our schools to engage our children.
So do you support in assisting place like Fort Valley Youth Center of Excellence that have that outreach for those kids that are after school? But
Yes,
oftentimes so how would you support them?
we need to keep it open and available, and that's the main key. It needs to have staff, needs to be open and available, And through, there's a lot of grants, there's state funding, and I would seek that out to aid us in help. Because I do understand we do have a poverty level here. So not everyone's going to be able to afford to pay to have their children sent someplace to have a good time or a safe place for their children. So I do understand we need funds to make this happen. And I would advocate strongly for our state for funds to be able to do that, because it does start at with our children. They're our future, and we don't educate them and take care of them. We're not going to have a very good future, just as they're not going to have a good future.
Okay. Because you said the audit that you had said earlier, the audit is just about updated and completed now.
Well, they've completed 2019, and from what I've understood, from what they've told me, is that 2019 was the most difficult audit that they had because they were missing information. The company that did the audit came out and gave us about an hour's worth of explanation. They did not have all the information to work off of, so they had to recreate what was not there through auditing other departments, getting paperwork going through the state, whatever they had to do to get this information. So it took them a year just to get 1 year done. Now what they're telling us is they've got the basis for all the other years. So we're talking each audit taking a couple of months to complete. So we should be up to date by the close of our fiscal year in October of 2024. What that's going to do for us is it's going to give us the capability of applying for grants we couldn't before, applying for federal money we couldn't before. And it's kind of a credit standing. Would anyone want to do business with someone that hasn't done their taxes in 4 or 5 years? Because that's really what it comes down to. And I think with us, we're going to be cleaned up within 2024. So then we will be able to get funding for certain things like after school type projects for kids, places for them to go, things to do, more money for our downtown, get a Main Street project in, just a whole host of things that and I do know that some of our newer administrations have been working very hard to clean up what's been left by the wayside over the years.
Okay. You mentioned earlier, and you talked about, I don't want to say conflicts, but it was similar in nature. So that lead me to ask you this question. How do you envision handling, oh, this is what you said, about having it so that the citizen could come in and feel comfortable with coming into the meetings and different things, making a platform for them. But how do you envision handling potential conflicts or disagreements within the council while maintaining a productive working relationship for the betterment of the city?
What we all need to remind ourselves in council is that we're not here for each other in the council. We're here for the city. We're here for the betterment of the city. We're supposed to be a city of civility. We're supposed to be a city of caring. We're supposed to be a city of respect for one another. I myself can sit on a council with people that I don't care for their views. I may not care for how they interact, whatever it may be. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to disrespect them. I'm not going to start an argument with them, because the goal here is for our citizens, and we need to be able to lead this city. We need to be cohesive within our leadership, and we cannot be fragmented. What I'm seeing now is some fragmentation within our council, and that will prevent us from moving forward in any capacity if we have that happening. Again, this is a nonpartisan. We should be treating it as a nonpartisan, and we need to stop that kind of behavior when the area starts to get a little gray, and one starts to trail off on one thing, the other trails off on another thing. We need to be able to bring it back in and get together and not have a shouting match. And just always keep in mind, this is for the betterment of our city. This is our home. We're here to do a job for you. This is not supposed to be about us. So therefore, if I'm going to have an argument with someone, it's not going to be about me. It's not going to be about how I feel about the individual. It's going to be what is that individual doing that would negatively impact our citizens, and we need to approach it from that type of avenue and not allow for it to happen. We do have an ethics commission that has been put together last year, and I believe that we should have more of a presence of our ethics commission so that we are being policed. We are keeping ourselves in line. Because I think sometimes when we get to a certain level in city administration, we think that our way is the best way, and if it's not our way, it's the highway, and that is not how it's supposed to be. And I advocate for us all to take a step back. Remember, we're here for all the citizens, and to put our best step forward so that we can behave in a respectful manner towards one another on that council. Even if my gut is telling me something, I have never engaged with a council member in a negative manner out on the floor. I've never interrupted. It's just something you shouldn't do and you shouldn't engage with. And I think we all need to just keep that in mind.
Okay. And I'm going back to COVID now, because COVID came and it showcased all the weakness that we had in our cities and state and everywhere. But one
Yes.
of the things that I'm getting to was a major one, and that's without internet. What are your thoughts on and challenges of expanding and maintaining essential services like high-speed internet access and broadband to underserved areas in our town?
We have actually, I believe the county has actually gotten high-speed broadband installed, and it's circling us. We need our infrastructure to be improved and updated so that we can have this service. Because right now our infrastructure is not doing so well as far as our high-speed internet, and that's what we need. And there are grants out there for this through the state and through federal that we can obtain to implement high-speed internet, because that is something we need to have. It's good for our commerce. It's good for our education. I mean, it's just all around. We know the impact of high-speed internet, and we need to have that. And that is one of the things that I would be getting onto right away, is finding the grants that are out there so we can shore up our infrastructure and get our high-speed internet work through Fort Valley. I would also like to see, like other communities have, in the center of their town, where there's shopping areas and restaurants and all that, that we have available internet just for the taking. That there's high-speed internet available. We've got hubs that people can go and take advantage of using high-speed internet, because it's not just for playing, and fun and games. I mean, people do their homework, people do their business, people work remotely with it. Without high-speed internet, we have a lot of people here in the city that cannot work remotely with it. I myself, we have internet through a cell service to have reliable internet, and it's not that fast, but it works. But to work from home can be a hassle. So we do need to have it. And I advocate first for our infrastructure to be built up and put up to date, and use some of these grants to be able to put some money into us being able to have high-speed internet.
Okay.
Just to add into a little bit of that, where some of the things you've mentioned, what are some of your other ideas of how you might leverage technology and innovation to bolster some of the economic opportunities in Fort Valley?
That sounds like it's going to have a few steps to it. I mean, through high-speed internet, we are able to sustain our businesses. I mean, I know every business out there uses internet just to process credit cards. So without high-speed internet, really, we're doing our business a disservice. But to shore it up, I think it would take more than me. I've got the ideas and the visions. I'm one vote. And hopefully I can get three, if I do get on, I can get three other votes to happen so that we can allocate funds. We can do all this. Because it is something that we need to have. So I'm really not, I'd love to be able to answer your question with a lot more depth to it. But I don't think I can at this moment because we don't have the tool of high-speed internet everywhere in this city. And we need to have that before we can move forward with some of the business that would be attracted to this city. That's the other thing too. We need to have an infrastructure suitable for businesses to be able to come here. Because a lot of times, business looks at us and it's not just about the numbers of the people who's here or how much money they're making. It's how can they function within our city limits? And if the answer is not too well, then they're going to go up the street and function tremendously somewhere else. And then we're going to miss the boat. So I think we're being very short-sighted by not having our infrastructure up to date. And we need to have our infrastructure up to date so that we can attract business and new business, as well as our existing business. They'll be able to do have a much better time doing their business than basically dial up for their credit cards and everything else, waiting in line, not being able to fulfill a lot of their orders. They're not efficient, and we need to make it efficient.
All right. In closing, we're gonna give you a couple of minutes to say your last thoughts that you want to say before signing off.
Well, my last thoughts are I hope Tuesday that I do get picked because I think I've got a lot to offer. I'm the type that it's like a dog with a bone. I'm not going to let it go. I'm going to keep going and going. So I'm the guy that I will go to the state. I will go to federal. I will advocate for small business. I'll advocate for large business. I advocate for all of our citizens. I don't care if they're young, old. I don't care if they just moved here. They've been here 100 years. We should all have an equal shot here in this community to be able to be a part of this community and to be able to feel that this community is our home and that we're not being prejudiced in any way, shape, or form by anybody. In other words, have each other's back. And that's what I feel I can do for my part in this community is be able to be responsible towards our community and anyone that's living here.
Okay. Thank you for accepting our invitation
Thank you.
and letting the citizen of Fort Valley know what you intend to do and that you're asking for their vote.
I am.
Thank you.
Thank you.